2 months after the last mission, Secret Agent Ethan listens to a classified message from US President Erica about the Entity. It's a self-aware rogue AI capable of penetrating cybersecurity and predicting probable futures. The Entity is currently corrupting digital information all over the world to turn humanity against each other. It's even inspired a doomsday cult in favor of human extinction, and their fanatics are infiltrating the most important institutions. To stop the Entity, they must find its source code, and the only one who knows its location is Gabriel, but nobody knows how to find him. Ethan has a key that could destroy the Entity, which would completely wipe out all cyberspace and send the world into another war. He's hiding because he's afraid that if the government gets its hands on the Entity, they may use it against other countries. Erica asks Ethan to surrender before the tape self-destructs. Later, Ethan reunites with his old friend Benji, and together they go to a secret room in a subway tunnel where Luther is waiting. Luther has developed a specialized poison capsule virus that can neutralize the Entity when integrated with its source code. But first they need to find Gabriel. In an Austrian prison, Gabriel's former accomplice Paris is being escorted by agents Jasper and Theo. Suddenly 2 guards take out their tasers and attack the agents, intending to knock them out. A fight ensues and Paris soon joins it, helping the guards bring down the agents one by one. After many punches and kicks, Jasper is knocked out, but Theo takes out his gun. Paris steals a gun and tries to shoot them, but the guards jump in front of her and take off their masks to reveal that they're Ethan and Benji. Paris remembers that Ethan spared her during the last mission, and Theo listens to Ethan when he explains that there are no sides anymore. They have to work together on a global matter. Theo agrees not to arrest them, and Ethan asks Paris where Gabriel is. A couple of evenings later, Ethan sneaks into an important party in London. 2 agents see Ethan and get ready to arrest him. However, Grace bumps into them and steals their radios and guns. She throws a weapon at Ethan and keeps the other, so the agents can't defend themselves and the duo easily knocks them out. Grace explains that she was sent to find him by the director of Ethan's agency, but admits she thinks Ethan is the only one who can save the world now, so she wants to help him instead of capturing him. When they're about to leave the room, 2 men catch them by surprise and quickly sedate them. Later, the duo wakes up to find themselves chained up in a room with a table full of torture tools. A guard comes in and punches Ethan, but he's told to stop by Gabriel, who says he'll kill Luther if Ethan doesn't do what he asks. Gabriel wants him to find a submarine called Sevastopol, which is undetectable by sonar. Many years ago its system was sabotaged by a virus that caused it to sink, and that virus later became the Entity. Since the submarine has been frozen on the bottom of the sea for years, the Entity can't hack into it now, therefore the copy of the virus left in its system can be retrieved and used as the source code. However, Gabriel doesn't want the source code to stop the Entity, he wants to control it. The most shocking information is that the virus that started it all was a code Ethan stole for the government to save his wife many years ago, so he's responsible for the Entity existing now. When Gabriel looks more closely at Ethan, he notices something weird in his mouth. It turns out he's got fake teeth hiding poison in them. Ethan bites them and starts foaming at the mouth, so Gabriel orders his men to revive him. However, Ethan reveals the poison isn't real and quickly beats up both guards. While Grace gets the keys from them to free herself, another guard comes and Gabriel stops him from shooting, reminding him he needs Ethan alive. He tells him to shoot Grace instead and leaves. One of the first men wakes up and rejoins the battle, so Grace and Ethan work together to fight their enemies. Grace almost gets killed, but Ethan grabs some tools from the table and kills both men first in quite a brutal way. Gabriel is running through the corridors to escape, but he's cornered by Paris, Theo, and Benji. Paris wants to shoot him, however Theo reminds her that they need him alive. Then Gabriel runs the opposite way while Grace and Ethan join the chase. Unfortunately, Gabriel locks the doors behind him and manages to escape. In another room, Ethan finds a strange box and Paris explains that's how Gabriel communicated with the Entity. Ignoring Paris' warnings, Ethan gets inside the box and connects his mind to the device. Restraints close around his hands and feet before the Entity talks to him. It shows him many visions that hurt his brain with every shock, including a mysterious vault. The Entity wants Ethan to open the vault and let it get inside. If he doesn't cooperate, the Entity will take control of the world's nuclear arsenal in 4 days and destroy humanity. It also shows him that Gabriel will kill Luther soon. Then the Entity kicks Ethan out of the box. He desperately writes down all the information he got during the visions and tells his team to find the coordinates to the submarine's location before he rushes out, desperate to save his friend. Meanwhile, Luther wakes up to find a dead nurse next to his bed. It turns out that Gabriel has locked him up in a strange chamber with a bomb, but first he stole the poison capsule and killed the woman he hired to keep him asleep. By the time Ethan arrives, there are only 3 minutes left. The bomb is so powerful that it may take out the entire city, so Luther is disarming it to contain the explosion. It'll save the city, but it'll kill him and collapse the tunnels. While failing to open the door, Ethan realizes Gabriel wants Luther to die so he can't build another poison capsule. Ethan doesn't want to abandon his friend, but Luther points out that he has no choice and forces him to leave. As Ethan runs through the tunnels, the bomb explodes behind him and kills Luther. When Ethan reaches the street, he's surrounded by Jasper and his men, who take the key from him. At headquarters, Ethan is met by Director Kittredge, who informs him that the entity has already broken into several nuclear arsenals around the world. They have a meeting with the entire board including President Erica. After they review Ethan's mission history, he explains that he needs the key and a ship to find the submarine. An argument ensues since the agency still doesn't want to destroy the entity, so Ethan points out they have no choice now that nuclear weapons are under its control. At that moment an alarm rings and they learn that another country has lost control of its nuclear arsenal. Erica decides to give Ethan 72 hours to solve the issue or he'll be responsible for what happens. Before he leaves on a helicopter, he's given the key and a mysterious envelope. Sometime later on the Northern Pacific, a plane leaves Ethan on a carrier ship. He gives the envelope to the Admiral, who opens it to discover that the message is just a date. The Admiral used to serve with Erica and recognizes the date as the day both lost someone close to them because no authority would take a risk. The carrier is sailing through a difficult area that could start a war, but the Admiral agrees to take the risk that her higher-ups didn't take. Ethan tells her about SOSUS or Sound Surveillance System, which is a network of acoustic undersea cables. If something important happens undersea anywhere in the world, SOSUS can find its exact location. Since the bodies of the submarine crew were recovered by Inuit fishermen, they guess that the SOSUS station that picked up the accident is the one on St. Matthew Island in the Bering Sea. Going there may risk starting a war with Russia, not to mention that Ethan will have to meet his team at the exact same place at the exact same time to bring him out of the ice. The Admiral is skeptical but they don't have a better plan. At the island, Benji and the team meet William, who has been managing the SOSUS station for 30 years. He's a legendary coder who tried to warn people about the entity for decades, but nobody listened to him. William wants to help them, however his house has already been invaded by Russian mercenaries who are now coming out of hiding. They're also looking for the lost submarine. William tries to convince everyone that he doesn't have the coordinates they need. He has the disks with the information but not the machines to read them because the higher-ups took everything away to cover up the sinking of the submarine. The Russians still expect William to build a reader and give him 1 hour. On a helicopter, Ethan is told by the pilots that they're seeing Russian ships in the area and that they haven't received the coordinates from the team yet. If they fly around for long they'll run out of fuel to return, but Ethan asks them for 5 more minutes. At that moment 2 Russian jets fly in front of them as a warning, so Ethan decides to jump into the freezing water. While the helicopters leave, Ethan is suddenly surrounded by divers, who take him to the USS Ohio. Ethan meets the submarine's captain and gives him the necklace sent by the Admiral to convince him to help. He explains that he's waiting for the coordinates from his team and asks the captain to raise the antenna, which may give away their location to the Russians. While they wait, they look at the radar to keep an eye on enemy ships and Ethan notices that a Russian submarine reached the island an hour ago. The crew shows Ethan a special pressure suit that can take him to profound depths, although they admit they haven't tested it below 300 feet. To conserve air, he'll have to descend pretty fast, which may result in side effects like mental confusion, tremors, and even convulsions. He'll have around 20 minutes to get to the decompression chamber, otherwise he'll die. Ethan starts exercising to help with his breathing and the captain warns him he'll use the antenna one last time before shutting it off. Back in the house, Benji helps William build the reader. While everyone is distracted, William confesses that he destroyed the disk that had the coordinates, but he's memorized them. He writes them down on a piece of paper and hides it on his watch, which he then discreetly hands to his wife while asking her to feed the dogs. Grace overhears them talking and volunteers to help. A mercenary follows the women to the kennel. William's wife hits him with a shovel and Grace jumps in to fight him, causing him to shoot his gun. The rest of the team hears it and sees it as a signal, so they start fighting the mercenaries too. Plenty of punches are exchanged, many weapons are shot, and in the struggle they accidentally knock off some coal from the stove, which lights the house on fire. Everyone just keeps on fighting so William rushes to the radio to send the coordinates. At the same time in the submarine, Ethan is attacked by a crew member with a knife, who is part of the entity cult and doesn't want it to be stopped. The men start fighting all over the room, breaking some pieces of equipment while the captain finally picks up the coordinates. Ethan pushes the guy's face against a rolling machine, but the man still manages to pick up his knife to attack again. When he's about to stab Ethan, another crew member hits the guy from behind to knock him out. In the house, Theo and Paris are doing most of the fighting. Benji tries to help but a bookshelf falls on him and the mercenary leader. Paris is captured, so she hits the guy to force him to shoot and the bullets hit his teammate. This frees Theo, who opens fire at Paris' opponent in return. When the Russian mercenaries realize that William is sending out the coordinates, they decide to run away and let their submarine pick up the transmission. William and the team manage to leave the building before it collapses. Grace leaves with William's wife, who teaches her how to use a sleigh and the words to guide the dogs so she can transport all the pressure chamber equipment to meet Ethan. In the submarine the captain tells Ethan that the coordinates are located near Africa. Ethan thinks that doesn't make sense and searches for the exact opposite point, which marks a place near his current location. William sent them backwards to trick the Russians. As the submarine takes off, they notice that the Russians are following them. Once the submarine reaches the spot from the coordinates, Ethan suits up and the crew reminds him of the limited time he has to pull this off. To help with the pressure, the chamber is filled with water before Ethan opens the door. He feels dizzy for a second before he jumps out and starts swimming as quickly as possible. At that moment the Russian submarine appears and almost hits him, but Ethan stays hidden on its side and manages to move on without being detected. Using several flares, Ethan searches the area until he finds the Sevastopol. When he gets inside, water immediately goes in too and the weight causes the submarine to move. Ethan connects a device to the generator to restore power and discover many bodies that weren't sucked out when the submarine sank. In the next room he finds a bunch of torpedoes, so he has to walk carefully to avoid activating them. This is harder than it should be because the submarine keeps rolling, thanks to the water flooding it. Eventually Ethan finds the system chamber and opens the computer hatch with the special key, which allows him to steal the hard drive. As he starts making his way back, he realizes that the submarine has completely tilted and will sink more deeply at any second. He has to swim carefully to dodge the torpedoes, which also keep rolling around. One of them blocks the door, so Ethan will have to escape through the torpedo tube. As he swims toward the tube, the torpedoes roll near him and almost trap him, but thankfully he gets out with some struggle. It takes him some effort but Ethan manages to open the tube hatch too, however there's a torpedo inside. He opens the next hatch and finds it free, but when he tries to crawl through it he discovers that his suit doesn't fit. Ethan has no choice but to rip it off, leaving his skin exposed to freezing water. Soon the tube starts flooding as well, but Ethan pushes through and manages to get out right before the submarine falls. Ethan's helmet gets stuck on the side of the submarine, leaving him with no choice but to let go of it too. The submarine sinks into the abyss and Ethan has to keep swimming in only his shorts with the hard drive hanging around his neck. No matter how hard he swims, Ethan doesn't make it to the surface. His body can't deal with the lack of air and the temperature, so it curls in extreme pain. At that moment he's found by Grace, who pulls him out of the water. She does CPR and puts him in the pressure chamber to revive him. Moments later on the plane, Ethan tells William he remembers him from an old mission. Ethan feels responsible for William being relocated to the Arctic, but William's grateful because this new job allowed him to meet his wife. The team discusses the entity's plan and concludes it must have a place to hide before launching the nuclear attack. William thinks that the safest place is the Doomsday Vault, a top-secret, fully shielded, solar-powered data server. Ethan realizes that's the place the entity showed him in the visions and guesses that Gabriel must already be there. They need to get Luther's poison capsule back from him to combine it with the source code, then that combo will force the entity to enter a 5D optical data drive and capture it there. However, they must pull out the data drive at the exact second to keep the entity from escaping but also to prevent it from launching the nuclear attack. First they'll have to let the entity enter the vault, so they'll have to give the hard drive to Gabriel to let him do the combination and stop him at the last second. In Africa, the team crosses several tunnels until they find the chamber with the vault. Ethan makes the others hide and moves ahead alone until he finds a nuclear bomb. Gabriel comes out and gloats, so Ethan pretends he's very upset to give him the hard drive. The moment is interrupted by Jasper, who surprises Gabriel with a gun from behind. A bunch of agents come out of hiding, revealing they've captured the team as well. Gabriel's assistant is also surrounded, so he activates the bomb which will blow up in 20 minutes. Kittredge has also come and he demands to know how to use the hard drive to control the entity. Ethan notices something moving in the shadows and Gabriel suddenly shouts an order. His men open fire and a shootout ensues, with people from all sides running to hide. Gabriel rushes to his jeep and manages to drive away with the poison capsule while dodging the bullets coming his way. Ethan rushes to get on another jeep to chase him and Kittredge and Jasper do the same. As the vehicles race through the tunnels, Ethan's jeep is pushed until he crashes. Luckily he isn't hurt and keeps running until he finds Gabriel escaping on a biplane. Ethan's about to give up when he sees the assistant getting away on a plane too, so he holds on to a metal bar to come along. He then climbs up until he reaches the pilot's seat and punches the assistant to knock him out. The plane starts to fall and roll, so the assistant's body drops out when Ethan pulls off the seatbelt. Then Ethan takes control of the plane and chases after Gabriel. Their planes hit each other a few times, causing some damage in the process. Back in the cave, Benji reveals that he's been shot. William volunteers to disarm the bomb, so his wife and Theo stay with him while Paris and Grace take Benji into the server room. William thinks they may not make it but soon discovers there are some cables he can cut to make the explosion smaller and give them a short window to escape. Once inside, Benji realizes his lung is collapsing, so he gives Paris a few instructions to do an improvised operation on him. The process is very painful but this doesn't stop Benji from guiding Paris through it and telling Grace how to activate the server. Thankfully both women follow his guidance perfectly, so Benji's lung recovers and Grace opens the server line for the entity to get in. She also connects the data drive, so now they just have to wait for their friend to get the poison back. In the air, Ethan's plane is coming apart, so he jumps off and lands on Gabriel's plane right before the other one falls and crashes. Gabriel starts doing all kinds of crazy tricks, hoping to throw Ethan off. However, Ethan always manages to find a new spot to hold on to and hides under the wing, making Gabriel think he's fallen. When Gabriel starts piloting normally again, Ethan comes closer to punch him. Unfortunately it doesn't knock him out and Gabriel starts pulling some crazy tricks again. As Ethan holds onto the seatbelt, the propeller begins to fail and Gabriel is forced to fly normally. He then tries to stab Ethan, who uses the chance to break his arm and steal the poison capsule before punching Gabriel again. He also disconnects the seatbelt, so when the plane turns, Gabriel falls out. The wind pushes his groin against the side of the plane and hits his head on the metal, instantly killing him. Afterward, Ethan tries to regain control of the plane, however the propeller has caught on fire. He jumps off using a parachute, only for it to get burned off as well. As he falls at great speed, Ethan manages to insert the poison pill into the hard drive right as Grace removes the 5D data drive and William cuts the cables on the bomb. Power goes out in the entire world and the nuclear weapons are stopped. Grace stares at the data drive glowing and realizes the plan has worked. William and the others join them, confirming that they outran the bomb and the damage was minimal. Soon the power comes back and Erica receives a call confirming that the entity is gone. In the mountains, Ethan lands safely thanks to a backup parachute. He hears a voice in the hard drive and realizes it's Luther sending him a final goodbye. This message is designed to self-destruct, so by the time Kittredge and Jasper find Ethan, the hard drive and the poison capsule are completely useless. Kittredge is frustrated but Jasper actually congratulates Ethan for his success. Sometime later the team reunites with Ethan and Grace gives him the data drive with the entity. Then the group splits so they can continue to live in the shadows.